everybody. It's Seth Jones, Editor-in-Chief of Landscape Management Magazine. Today I'm doing another Zoom at-home edition, this one for our LM150 issue. Our LM150 list is sponsored by our friends at Aspire. Today I'm being joined by James Higgins. He is a partner at Chenmark. They are based in Portland, Maine, and reporting revenue of $50 million. They came in at number 43 on the 2021 LM150 list. James, thank you for joining me today, and appreciate you taking the time.
Yes, thanks a lot, Seth. Appreciate the opportunity.
So I guess first off, just tell me about who are you? Tell me about, give me a background of who you are and what you do.
Yeah, sure. So, as you mentioned, I'm a partner at Chenmark. In sort of tail end of 2014, beginning of 2015, came together with my wife Trish and my brother Palmer, and the three of us sort of hatched an idea to create a holding company focused on acquiring and helping to support the operations of small businesses throughout North America. We all started our careers in various forms of, quote, traditional finance, mostly in and around New York City, and saw an opportunity to take a lot of the kind of great training and learning there and apply it to more of a kind of real economy, sort of traditional small business context. And so that's what we've tried to do. The first company we ever bought was in the landscaping industry. And we can get into some of the reasons why we found that particular industry attractive. But fast forward to today, and we own 6 different sort of operating subsidiaries underneath the Chenmark umbrella. Several of those are in the landscaping and lawn care space, or the green industry, broadly speaking. And we've also done a number of smaller acquisitions where we've sort of absorbed a smaller company into one of those subsidiaries. So I think I was looking at the stats the other day. We're finishing up our 24th acquisition since we got started about 5-6 years ago. Yeah, it's been a great great journey.
Okay, let's go ahead. Yeah, tell me about you got your start with in the green industry. What was it that, can you talk to me about what it was that caught your eye? Why was that the jumping on point, and what is it like now?
Yeah, absolutely. So we're a little bit different than despite our kind of background in traditional finance. From the beginning, we've sought to sort of establish Chenmark as a little bit different from a traditional financial buyer. And I think the primary difference is that we are primarily funded internally. So we're sort of managing our own money and that of a small group of friends and family, and most recently employees. And so because of that, we can take just an extremely long-term view with respect to how we think about businesses and kind of what we're looking for in an acquisition. So what we try to identify are companies where we can be very confident in the durability of demand for the core product or service. And to us, the landscaping space really checked that box in spades. In both, I mean, we're here in Maine, so it's a multi-season business, but on both the snow side and the landscaping side, we really feel comfortable with that sort of durability piece, and for that reason, we've built up exposure in the industry.
Okay, and talk to me about the what's the landscape and lawn care industry like in your neck of the woods? How far and wide do you guys go, and what's it? I mean, is it a growing market?
Sure. Yeah. So I mean, I think I don't know that I'd sort of point to the market here as growing differently than the sort of broader industry. So, I think you're looking at kind of a GDP-ish kind of growth rate over time. Mm-hmm. Our footprint runs from Bangor, Maine now down through Rhode Island and parts of southern Massachusetts. And I think the dynamics are similar to what at least I've observed across some of the rest of the industry, where you have an industry, sort of a fairly big and fairly fragmented industry, with some players who have managed to achieve some degree of scale, yeah. So I think it's I would say it's probably a reflection of what you see in a lot of other geographies as well.
Okay. How do you think that Chenmark, how do you guys come in and if you identify, you said you're on the 24th acquisition, but in our market for, I guess one, how many of those acquisitions are in this industry, in the lawn care and landscape industry? And then two, how do you make sure that they're going to be a good business for you guys?
Sure. So I would say, so first to answer your first question, I would say about 2/3 of those have been sort of landscaping or green industry related. I think every deal is a little bit different. And so it's difficult to sort of speak to a specific recipe. I would say a lot of the things that we are looking for pre-deal and the things we're looking to emphasize post-deal are largely similar. And those probably come down to three key factors. The first two are somewhat related, but essentially involve how we treat, retain, and ultimately grow relationships with customers. And then the same thing on the employee side. So how we identify, recruit, train, and retain sort of high caliber employees. And then the third sort of leg of the stool for us is, and again, this is kind of a sort of refers back to our kind of roots in the financial world, but a pretty significant emphasis on data and sort of operational metrics and sort of financial analysis.
Okay, great. So that's, you're number two about identifying and the high level employees and training folks. What's it like for you guys to, a theme of this issue for me is culture. Are are they intimidated when you guys come in, or is there a way that you can, how do you make sure that you've got a good culture? You come in and you're saying, hey, this is going to be great.
Yeah, great question. So I think to some degree, actions speak louder than words. So there are, I think, with any transaction involves some degree of change, and change in general is a scary thing. So to some extent, no matter what we say on day one, we try our best and sort of we emphasize our kind of long-term orientation. I think to some degree that there's just naturally a degree of skepticism around that on day one. And so I think the best thing that we can do is be consistent in our messaging and more importantly, consistent in our behaviors, and allow time to kind of prove out what we're saying upfront. And so I think the more day 7 post-closing, day 21, day 90, day whatever, the more each of those days looks like the day pre-closing, the better from a kind of cultural preservation perspective. I think kind of one of the big kind of guiding philosophies of our model is that that we want to be a little bit prescriptive in terms of what it means to be a Chenmark company. So we have some frameworks that we use to and kind of core values that we emphasize across the whole organization. But we sort of deliberately want those to be vague enough to allow for some degree of individual personality and an individual culture at each of our companies. So even though we're especially in the green industry, we're mainly located in New England. The experience of working at our company in Maine may be very different than the experience of someone working for a company in New Hampshire, and they may emphasize slightly different things from a culture and values perspective. And to us, that's okay, and kind of an important thing for kind of those kind of close-knit sort of on the ground level relationships and cultures to be to have room to sort of exist within the kind of broader Chenmark ecosystem.
Okay. And James, we talked about it at the beginning a little bit, but I kind of want to go back just to get a better understanding. But when you guys started looking at different markets to be in, and you say that the green industry was one that was attractive, I'm just kind of, can you talk to me about, what it is that is appealing about being in this business?
Yeah, sure. So I mentioned the durability component. Sort of to dig into that more specifically, I think kind of the the part of that is related to the core services being offered, right? So, the grass is going to grow in Maine, the snow is going to fall, et cetera. That's pretty basic. I think beyond that, um, for a lot of companies in the industry, what you find are very deep and long-lasting customer relationships, and so I think there's the opportunity, when you're kind of on a customer property, caring for it and sort of treating it as though it were your own to a degree, that can build a very sort of long tenured, valuable relationship, and I think that's an appealing aspect to us. So I think those are some of the factors that made a difference in our analysis.
What do you find most satisfying about, just Chenmark and as a whole, and just having your job as a partner with the company and making these acquisitions?
Yeah, so I'd say two things. So first, and probably most importantly, is the relationships that we built with our own team and the broader community. So one of the reasons why we sort of collectively, all three of the sort of founding partners kind of punched out of traditional finance and moved into this space was very explicitly for the opportunity to build more kind of personal relationships through business, and we've certainly been able to do that, and I personally found that just extremely rewarding. So that's a huge element. I'd say the other kind of really interesting thing is the multifaceted nature of the job. So like any small business owner, you find, at least I find myself wearing a lot of different hats, day to day, week to week, and even intraday in a lot of cases. And I think that that has allowed me to sort of be constantly engaging in sort of an ongoing learning process across lots of different disciplines, from marketing to operations to sales to legal and on and on. And so that I think that is both challenging but also extremely rewarding as well.
Okay, great. I want to say thank you for taking the time, and continued success to you guys and your partners at Chenmark.
Great, thanks so much. Appreciate the time.
Okay, everybody, this is James Higgins. He is a partner with Chenmark based in Portland, Maine. They come in at number 43 on the LM150 list. Our LM150 list this year is sponsored by Aspire. Thanks for joining us. I'm Seth Jones, Editor-in-Chief of Landscape Management Magazine.